Welcome back to the news today. Things are heating up in Israel's political arena, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition perhaps starting to show cracks. The latest dust-up, an ongoing war of words between Likud Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon and Jewish Home Party leader Naftali Bennett, who some believe is trying to outflank Netanyahu to the right on security issues. Here with me to discuss are Amir Oren, defense and government analyst for Haaretz. Good evening, Amir.
Evening, Ayman.
And diplomatic correspondent for the news today, Eli Hochenberg. Good evening, Eli.
Good evening, Ayman.
Well, Amir, it's safe to say it's the end of what was once a love story between Benjamin Netanyahu and Naftali Bennett.
Well,
It was never a love story.
the love story ended some 7 or 8 years ago when a prior love story between Benjamin and Sarah Netanyahu prevailed over the one with Bennett and Ayelet Shaked, who staffed his bureau when he was the leader of the opposition. And Mrs. Netanyahu prevailed on Mr. Netanyahu to oust them. Then they left Likud and founded Jewish Home. Now, one has to understand the constitutional makeup of the governmental setup regarding the occupied territories. When Israel occupied the territories in 1967, the Prime Minister Eshkol had to give up the defense ministry to Moshe Dayan. The military had control of the territories and is considered the sovereign under law, under legal procedures. So the defense minister had jurisdiction over the territories, but he was subject to governmental approval and especially to the prime minister. The organization was that there will be a coordinator for the territories, usually but not always a major general. He will be a subordinate of the defense minister, but the government could give him instructions. What happened today was that the usual instructions are now challenged by Naftali Bennett, who says Defense Minister Ya'alon should not be the sole authority for the territories and for the coordinator, who is a Major General Poli Mordechai.
And Eli, like any other tragic love story, it has wide-ranging ramifications. How much could this spat between Netanyahu and Naftali Bennett damage Israeli politics and Netanyahu's coalition? And what is Bennett trying to achieve?
Well, what Bennett is trying to achieve, we started discussing on Thursday. Mr. Oren and I were sitting here talking about the speech of Bennett that inflamed the situation. Bennett has a past in the high-tech community, and he used, themes from this field and transferred them into politics, somewhat comparing Netanyahu to the not so successful anymore Nokia company, and himself to be the face of the future and the company of Apple. He was talking about a freeze in the mindset, the fact that Israel is only reacting to reality, not triggering any new facts on the ground. And the thing is that it's not something unique when it comes to Bennett. I'll take you back to Operation Protective Edge, or last year when we had a long period of many vehicular attacks, mainly in Jerusalem. Bennett each and every time tried to undermine Netanyahu's security policy, and this is what we see now as well. Bennett is using this opportunity to show the Israeli public that there is an alternative when it comes to security matters, very similar to what Victor Lieberman was trying to do and is trying to do in the last couple of years. Bennett basically says that Netanyahu is too soft, and that he, as a hawkish right-wing leader, can present a much more determined and coherent security policy, and of course attempts to make political gains out of the situation.
There is another dimension. On one level, Bennett is the mirror image of Netanyahu. Of course, Benjamin Netanyahu is BN and Naftali Bennett is NB. But not only that, both of them were junior officers in special forces units. But obviously, Netanyahu is some 15 years senior. And Bennett wants to say that Netanyahu is old hat. And Bennett represents innovation, a new look, and because of his military experience, meager as it is, but comparable to Netanyahu's, he can bring new ideas to the defense ministry if he gets the portfolio.
Well, another important factor in this game is, of course, Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon. Is this a battle for who will succeed Netanyahu? Is this what we're looking at now?
Perhaps, but Ya'alon wants to succeed Netanyahu from within Likud. And Bennett challenges him from outside Likud. Now, Ya'alon up to now has not been considered a major contender. He does have the second most important portfolio in the cabinet.
Though he's the defense minister and has a huge advantage in his position?
Yes, but had he been a contender, he wouldn't have gotten the defense portfolio because in Netanyahu's first cabinet in the 90s, Yitzhak Mordechai had this portfolio and then challenged Netanyahu for the leadership. Ya'alon only got this portfolio because he was counted upon not to challenge Netanyahu. And there are, of course, other big shots within Likud, like Israel Katz and Gilad Erdan and perhaps others. One of them fell by the wayside, Silvan Shalom, but there are still others, and Gideon Sa'ar is waiting in the wings. So Ya'alon is not considered. He's a relative newcomer. He is still an outsider. His roots are in the Labour Party or Labour movement at least. So he is looked at quite suspiciously by Likud stalwarts. Nevertheless, right now he is Netanyahu's ally in the cabinet. And because the settlers are against him, following the evacuation of the invaders of these two homes in Hebron, they find themselves in a united front, Ya'alon and Netanyahu.
Well, Ali, speaking of unition, what this seems to show is how much crisis in Netanyahu's coalition is all the fact possible.
Exactly. We're talking about, possible the next elections and who will be the runners for the premiership. But at the moment, the razor-thin coalition of Netanyahu is very unstable, and the recent events only show us how delicate the situation really is. We had several coalition members threatening not to follow according to the coalition rule, not to vote in favor of several motions, very important motions that are expected to be put forward tomorrow, such as the transparency bill. They must talk about the transparency bill. But the thing is that part of the coalition negotiations between Netanyahu and Bennett back then was that a committee of ministers dealing with settlement will be established, and this is something that did not happen. So now the Jewish Home Party, Bennett's party, is waving this card ahead of him, and as we see now, there's a chance that such a committee will be established in order to avoid such a problem within the coalition. The last thing Netanyahu needs now is for moves or motions to be brought down by his own members of the coalition, because he has enough problems from the outside. He wants to keep everything as calm as possible.
But these are really empty threats. Eli is right, and we will see this committee being established. Everybody will be happy. But even if not, these are empty threats to bring down the coalition, because those members of Knesset, like Bezalel Smotrich from Bennett's party, even if they abstain or go abroad, they will not bring down the government. The opposition needs 61 votes, and there are no defections. There are only protest moves, but there are no defections from the coalition to the opposition. But another sign that we saw today was the fight between Netanyahu and Transport Minister Israel Katz. You reported on it,
yes,
on this Uber thing. So up to now, it was Netanyahu Uber alles within Likud, no longer.
Well, Amir Oren and Ali Hochenberg keeping us up to date with Israeli politics. Thank you very much for joining me tonight.